The Adventure of Tim and the Lost Map. Tim was a young boy who lived in a small village by the sea. He loved adventures. Every day after school, he would explore the forests, beaches, and hills near his home. One day, while exploring an old cave near the shore, Tim found something strange, a rolled-up piece of paper tucked behind a rock. When he unrolled it, he was shocked. It was a map. The map showed a path that led to a hidden treasure, deep inside the forest. Tim's heart raced. He had always dreamed of finding a treasure. He knew he couldn't go on this adventure alone, so he ran to his best friend, Emma. "Emma! Look at what I found," Tim said, waving the map. Emma's eyes widened. "Is that a treasure map?" "I think it is," Tim said. "Do you want to come with me to find the treasure?" "Of course," Emma replied excitedly. "Let's pack some things and leave right away." They quickly grabbed some supplies, a flashlight, some snacks, a rope, and a water bottle. Together, they set off towards the forest. The path on the map was long and winding, but Tim and Emma were determined to follow it. The first part of their journey was easy. They walked through the grassy meadows, laughing and talking about what kind of treasure they might find. Gold? Jewels? Or maybe something magical? But as they entered the forest, things became more difficult. The trees were thick, and the path was not as clear as before. "We have to be careful," Emma said. "We don't want to get lost." "Don't worry," Tim replied. "I'll keep an eye on the map." After a few hours of walking, they came to a river. The map showed that they had to cross it to continue their journey, but there was no bridge. "How are we going to get across?" Emma asked. Tim thought for a moment. "Maybe we can use these rocks," he said, pointing to some large stones in the river. The rocks were slippery, but Tim and Emma carefully jumped from one to the next. They made it across the river without falling in. Feeling proud of themselves, they continued their journey. The next part of the map led them to a steep hill. It was much harder to climb than they had expected. The ground was rocky, and the bushes were thick. Emma slipped a few times, but Tim helped her up. "We're getting closer," Tim said, looking at the map. "Just a little more, and we'll be at the treasure." But as they climbed higher, dark clouds began to gather in the sky. Soon, it started to rain. The path became muddy and slippery. "We should find some shelter," Emma suggested. They saw a big tree with thick branches. It provided enough cover from the rain. They sat under the tree, waiting for the rain to stop. While they waited, they shared some of the snacks they had brought. "I wonder what kind of treasure is hidden here," Tim said. "Whatever it is, it's going to be worth all this trouble," Emma replied with a smile. After a while, the rain stopped, and they were able to continue their journey. The forest was even more beautiful now, with raindrops sparkling on the leaves and flowers. Finally, after climbing for what seemed like hours, they reached the top of the hill. "Look!" Emma shouted, pointing to a large stone that matched the one on the map. "The treasure must be here." Tim rushed over and started searching around the stone. There was a small hole in the ground, hidden behind some bushes. Inside the hole was a wooden box. Tim and Emma worked together to pull it out. They opened the box, expecting to see gold or jewels. But inside, there was only an old book and a letter. "What's this?" Tim asked, disappointed. Emma picked up the letter and began to read it aloud. "To the finder of this map, congratulations on your adventure. The true treasure is not gold or jewels but knowledge. This book contains the secrets of the forest. It holds stories, maps, and information that only a few people know. You now have the knowledge of the forest. Use it wisely. Tim and Emma looked at each other. I guess the real treasure was the adventure we had, Tim said. And this book is pretty cool too, Emma added, flipping through the pages. It was filled with drawings of animals, plants, and secret paths through the forest. Even though they hadn't found gold, Tim and Emma were happy. They had discovered something even more valuable, the knowledge of their own forest. They decided to keep the book safe and learn as much as they could from it. From that day on, they became experts on the forest, knowing every tree, animal, and hidden path. Tim and Emma continued to have adventures, but none were as exciting as the day they found the lost map. They learned that sometimes the journey is more important than the treasure itself, and the best adventures are the ones shared with friends. As the sun began to set, Tim and Emma made their way back home, carrying the book and memories of their great adventure. They knew that this was only the beginning of their journey, and many more mysteries awaited them in the forest. Tim and Emma's Great Forest Adventure. Tim was a 10-year-old boy who loved to explore. He lived in a quiet village by the sea, but he was always looking for new adventures. His best friend Emma often joined him on his explorations. One day, while exploring the cliffs near their village, Tim discovered something incredible, an old map hidden under a rock. Emma! Look what I found! Tim shouted excitedly, holding up the dusty piece of paper. Emma rushed over. Is that a treasure map? It sure looks like one, Tim replied. The map shows a path through the forest and ends at a big X on a hill. Emma's eyes lit up. Let's follow it. Who knows what we'll find? Tim and Emma packed a few things they thought they might need, some sandwiches, water bottles, a flashlight and a rope. After saying goodbye to their parents, they set off towards the forest. As they walked through the village, the two friends talked about what the treasure might be. Maybe it's gold coins or ancient jewels, Tim said. Or maybe it's something magical, like a powerful sword or a secret key, Emma added. The path on the map led them deep into the forest. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing, but soon, the trees became thicker, and the trail became harder to follow. Are we going the right way? Emma asked, looking around. Tim checked the map. Yes, we just need to keep going straight. After walking for about an hour, they came to a river. The map showed that they had to cross it, but there was no bridge. How are we going to get across? Emma asked. Tim spotted some large stones sticking out of the water. We can use those stones. Let's jump across. They carefully hopped from one stone to the next. Tim made it to the other side first and helped Emma when she nearly slipped. That was close. Emma laughed. After crossing the river, they walked for another hour until they reached a large hill covered in thick bushes and rocks. According to the map, the treasure was at the top of this hill. We're almost there, Tim said excitedly. Let's climb to the top. The hill was steep, and it took all of their strength to climb it. The ground was slippery from the damp earth, and at one point, Emma slipped and almost fell, but Tim caught her just in time. Thanks, Tim, Emma said, catching her breath. This treasure better be worth it. Finally, after what seemed like forever, they reached the top of the hill. They were both tired and sweaty, but their excitement pushed them to keep going. Look! Tim pointed to a large tree at the top of the hill. That's the tree from the map.